Hi everyone, welcome to Water Squad Camp Day 1 presentation session. So my name is Yiling Zhuang. I'm the Water Resources Regional Specialized Agent. So for this presentation session, I will go through Florida's water resources with you. So let me share my screen so you can see the presentation I prepared for you guys. Okay, so you can see here is this background. If you are curious, this is the University of Florida campus. So like I said, I'm affiliated with University of Florida IFAS extension. So if you haven't heard of extension, I always say the best way to describe us is we're the extension of University of Florida. We provide science-based, research-based knowledge to the public. So for different audience, we have a different type of program, how we deliver science-based knowledge. And for today, we through the format of camps. So for this online virtual camp, I will take you on a virtual field trip just to explore all the Florida water resources. So before I get started to show you all the water resources in Florida, so let me ask you a question. Does Florida have enough water for everyone? So let me know your thoughts. So I'm just gonna pause here for a quick second. You just think about it. So does Florida have enough water for everyone use, not just now, also in the future? Okay, so just remember your answer. After our exploring our virtual field trip of Florida's water resources, I will ask you that question again. So when you hear the phrase, because my title, this presentation's title is Florida's water. So when you hear the phrase Florida's water, what other words or phrases come to your mind? So I'm just gonna pause here again, just for a quick few seconds, so you can just think about what you think of Florida water is. All right, I think you already have your answer, right? I would like to know what you think, so you can just share it with me on Google Classroom. So now let's just look at where can we find Florida's water. So generally speaking, we can find water above ground and below ground. So above ground, we call it surface water. And below ground, we call it groundwater. So I put here, it's like a really thick dash line, black dash line. So like we can separate surface water and groundwater. So later in this presentation, you can see they're not isolated and there's not really a thick line. You can separate them. So let's start from surface water. Let's explore where we can find our surface waters. So first, of course, is our rivers. So for Florida, we have about a dozen of major rivers. Those rivers are fairly short. So it's not like Mississippi River across several states. So for major rivers in Florida, like I said, they are fairly short. But when you combine them together, about 10,000 miles. And for Florida, you can also find surface water in lakes and ponds. We have about 7,800 lakes. And what's really important of all those lakes is we have something very rare. It's called a coastal dune lakes. Why it is so unique? Why it is so rare? So basically, you cannot find it everywhere. So for like whole world, you can only find the coastal dune lakes in a few countries, which include Madagascar, Australia, New Zealand, and then United States. And even for United States, you cannot find it everywhere. So you can only find it in Oregon State and Florida State. Again, in state of Florida, you cannot find it in every single counties. So it's just like when you go to Clearwater Beach or you go to St. Augustine Beach, you cannot find these coastal dune lakes. These coastal dune lakes, you can only find them in Whatcom County. So it's a county in Panhandle. So why they are so unique? So long story short is they have their unique geological features, excuse me. They have their unique geological features, which means they don't really have a specific combination of seawater and fresh water. So sometimes it's a little bit more seawater, sometimes it's a little bit more fresh water. And also they don't have a specific shape. They change their shape all the time. But generally speaking, you can find them about 1 to 2 miles away from the coast. And also we have you can find the surface water. It's like in wetlands. And we have the most famous wetland, which is Everglades. So Everglades, if you haven't been to Everglades, it's in South Florida. So it's a little bit south of Lake Okeechobee and north of Miami. So it's a really big wetland, and you can see a lot of wild animals in Everglades wetland. And besides like famous wetland Everglades, we also have other like small wetlands, which sometimes we call them marsh. There's one also really close to me. It's called Pins Prairie. So it's close to University of Florida main campus in Gainesville. So it's also a wild preserve. So you can also search some YouTube videos. I think it happened a couple years ago. It's a wild horse kicked alligator. So it's pretty cool. And besides the natural wetlands, you can also find it, so we call it constructed wetlands. It just means it's man-made wetland. And why do we want to man-made wetland? So if you don't know, wetlands actually, they're really good at water treatment. They are good at filtering water contaminants. So that's why nowadays we're using more and more constructed wetland to filter water. And of course, we're in Florida, right? I believe some of you have thought about beach or ocean when I ask you what's the other phrase or words came to your mind when you heard of Florida's water. Yes, of course, we have ocean because Florida is 3 sides surrounded by water, by ocean. And you can see this list goes on and on and on. We have temporal ponds. You can also find water in soil. So, but most of us, we don't find water above ground. Most of our Florida's water. Let me rephrase. So we usually find water is above ground. It's surface waters. But most of Florida's water is underground. So it's called groundwater. And also most of us have never seen, I would say most of us have never seen it in its natural setting. Until one time I talked to, I was in a meeting and I said, it's like, yeah, most of us have never seen Florida groundwater in its natural setting. And that group turned out to be cave divers. So they've seen Florida's groundwater in its natural setting. You can see it just here. So it's underground. And you can also watch that YouTube video I post also on Google Classroom. It's called A Water's Journey. So basically you will take that journey with those cave divers just to see Florida's groundwater. So where it goes and what happens to our groundwater. So it's a really cool video. It's not that long. It's about 30 minutes. I really encourage you to watch that YouTube video. Like I said, most of us never see groundwater in its natural setting, but actually we all see groundwater. So you can see this picture here, right? When you grab a cup of water, when you grab a glass of water, so where do you think that water comes from? So even you say, I bought it in Publix. So believe it or not, that water, the water you buy at grocery stores, this bottled water, it's also our groundwater. So groundwater provides almost 95% of water we use for drinking, for bathing, even flushing toilet. So you can see on this slide, it's a lot of big numbers, just show you the statistics. It just basically tells you how much water is stored underground. You can see it's the daily flow of groundwater, it's about 30,000 times the daily flow of Florida's major rivers to ocean. So that's really incredible amount of water. So like I said in the beginning, so for surface water and groundwater, I put a really thick line between them, but they are not separate. They have their own interaction. So groundwater and the surface water, they are connected. So one way for surface water to become groundwater, we call it swellets. So you can see it's here. So just surface water, like a river or a lake, just disappear or sink into groundwater. Another way actually is more common is for groundwater to become surface water. We call it springs. So Florida has more than 700 fresh springs in the, Florida has more than 700 freshwater springs. I think, yeah, Florida also has the largest concentration of springs, not just in the nation, also in the world. And mostly you can find those springs in Central Florida and North Florida because of the unique topography. So when I see topography, it's just the geology, like the soil underneath. So I went through all the water resources in Florida, right? So from surface water to groundwater, and things like, wow, Florida has so much water. So we should have enough water for everyone because we have groundwater already supplies the 95% of household water use. So unfortunately, the story is a little bit different if you also look into water quality. Generally speaking, the water quality of groundwater is still good. It's among the best in the nation, but some indicator like nitrate, it's a nutrient. So one simple example, it's like the fertilizers you put on the yard, and also it's the sewer, like you have a septic tank, a leaky septic tank, they also contribute nitrate to water. So it's just the nitrate concentration, or in other words, the nutrient loading in our groundwater is high. Also, it reflects in the springs. And also, I want to show you this map. This map is, it shows you Florida's population change. So on your right here, on your left here, it's current population. So the baseline is in 2010. So it's about 18 million, and the projection in 2070, so it will almost double, 34 million. If you look at a map, what difference can you see? So you can see on the left side, there are some red areas, right? And when you look at the left map, there are more red areas. And you can see a lot more in Central Florida. So these red areas are developed land. So which means when we have more people, we need to develop more land for people to live. And what does more people mean? So more people also means it's quite intuitive. We have more people, then we need to use more water. So here you can see from 1950 to 2010, population increased by 580%. Water use increased by about 465%. So you can also make the association with population increase, we need more water. And this map just shows you how much more water we will need. Again, on the left side is how much water we are using now. And on the right side is the future, like water projection. So what you want to see, it's similar, it's also the dark red. So on the right side, you don't really see, like here, you don't see a lot of red areas, but when you look at the right map, you can see a lot more dark red, which means it needs a lot more water. So it's similar as the population map I just showed you. So when we have more people in Central Florida, we need more water in Central Florida. And also, and population change also change land use. So we have lost a lot natural land and agricultural land. And where do you think these lands have become? They have become developed land because we have population growth. We need more land for these people to live on. So look at this map. Actually, I have a question for you. So when you look at that, does it look like two pictures? I just paste it together, or this looks like a big picture? So does it look like it has this picture and it has the picture on the right? I just copy and paste, make it one picture? Or you think it's one satellite picture? So it really does look like two pictures pasted together, right? But actually it is one satellite picture. So you can see it's, this is still natural land, and this is a very developed. So this land, it's more like the neighborhood you and I live for. And then what's the problem for, if we go back? So what's the problem for this picture? So what's the problem for this developed land? So basically, when it's a developed land, you will have more runoff. So runoff will be the first water squat term you learn during this camp. So what is runoff? So you can imagine, did it rain in your neighborhood in last few days? If it rained, did you see just the water running off or washing off from your driveway and also running off on the street? That water, we call it runoff. So for natural land, most water will infiltrate underground. It becomes groundwater, very minimum runoff. And for a developed land, you will have this concrete. So for concrete, it doesn't infiltrate water. So which means water cannot go through the surface, like your driveway, like the street. So less water is going to the ground, become groundwater. More water becomes runoff. Then what's the problem of runoff? Then that's the second water squat term you will learn. It's called non-point source pollution. What is non-point source pollution? Basically, we just don't know where it's from. So for example, when you have a wastewater treatment plant, so we know that's the source, right? But for non-point source pollution, so it can from this yard, it can from that yard. It can also come from this farm or that farm. So we just don't know what's the original location or original source of the pollution. So runoff is a type of non-point source pollution. So like I said, when you have more concrete, so like your driveway, like the street, it prevents the water goes underground, we'll have more runoff. Water is running off on the street. And that runoff will also bring like sediment, or bacteria, or fertilizers, pesticides, or even just trash into the water bodies. So with all the runoff is just one issue. So with all the like pollutions, Florida water actually is largely impaired. So I want to show you this map. You can see this map. What do you see here? So this is the state of Florida, right? And the first, at least caught my eyes, is the red area. So I'm very surprised. Florida has so many impaired water bodies, so many red areas. So which means you can see a lot of water bodies in the south, they are impaired. And also here, like in the Tampa Bay region. So impaired, what does that mean? Excuse me. So for impaired, it just means this water body couldn't meet the water standard. So for example, this water body is for fishing. So then the bacteria is too high. Fish can no longer survive in this water body or just this lake. Then this lake is considered impaired. So here on this map, we have a lot lakes, springs, and rivers. They are all impaired, which means their water quality doesn't meet the standard. So now let's go back and revisit this question I asked you first. Does Florida have enough water for everyone, not just now, also in the future? So do you think we have enough water? So the short answer is no, we don't. Florida does not have enough water for the population growth and development. Like I show you throughout the presentation, with all the population growth, we need more water. And with all the population growth, we change our land use. So the short answer is no, Florida does not have enough water or enough good water for everyone. All right, so if you have any questions or comments, here is my email. You can send me an email or you can just post on Google Classroom. And I look forward to seeing you next week on our day 2 for Water Squad, a water conservation camp. Bye, guys. Oh.